swole there. What you been doing this offseason?
Oh, I appreciate that. I was just lifting, so.
Your weight right now?
It's about 245.
You are lifting weights.
Correct. Does it not look like it?
We are just 16 weeks away from NFL football, which is absolutely exciting considering the fact that we're getting reports of NFL superstars being in the greatest shape of their lives. Most of these players being considered to be the future of the league someday. And probably the greatest example of this is none other than Justin Herbert. So before we get to the content, I just want to let you guys know that we are making a huge push on TikTok. You'll see some of my content that gets uploaded a little bit earlier on TikTok, so go ahead and follow us at Microphone NFL. Now that we got all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Look, I live in Los Angeles, and secondarily, I typically root for the Los Angeles Rams when my Dallas Cowboys inevitably fail in the playoffs or fail to make the playoffs. You guys probably think I'm the biggest bandwagon on planet Earth, considering how I have a Mahomes jersey back there as well, but I digress. If I'm remaining absolutely objective in regards to the state of the Los Angeles team so far, I believe the team that has the most momentum between the Rams and the Chargers, despite the Los Angeles Rams winning a Super Bowl last year, has to be the Los Angeles Chargers. Don't get me wrong, the Los Angeles Rams made some good moves this past offseason. I mean, considering the fact that they lost Von Miller, they really were able to rebound very quickly, signing players like Bobby Wagner. Although he plays a different position and role than Von Miller, it's still an exciting signing nevertheless. Adding players like Allen Robinson, Brian Allen, Joseph Noteboom. They had to trade away players like Robert Woods. They cut one of their most popular players, which is their punter, Johnny Hecker. Needless to say, it's going to be a nice little transition period for the Los Angeles Rams. But the team that is having the most momentum, in my opinion, has to be the Los Angeles Chargers, which, believe it or not, are actually taking a page out of the LA Rams' notebook, kind of. When Jared Goff was on a rookie scale contract, the LA Rams did everything that they possibly could to build a super team around this guy. Yes, they were a little reckless with the extension of Todd Gurley, in my opinion, which, by the way, if you didn't check out our Todd Gurley documentary, it's one of our best received documentaries that we've had in some time. I highly recommend you check it out. And ultimately, it resulted in the LA Rams getting a trip to the Super Bowl. And it seems like the Los Angeles Chargers are following suit. Right after Russell Wilson got traded to the Denver Broncos was an announcement that Khalil Mack got traded to the LA Chargers. But the Chargers weren't done there. They re-signed Mike Williams. They signed JC Jackson. They're currently working on a contract extension with Derwin James. And then you factor in the players that were already on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, Asante Samuel Jr. looked really good in his debut season for the games that he did play. They added Sebastian Joseph Day, they have Joey Bosa, and that's just the defensive side of the ball. We've been hyping up the LA Chargers defense for quite some time. But what about their offense? Well, obviously, if you drafted Austin Eckler in fantasy last year, you absolutely love him. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams have always been a fantastic wide receiver tandem, especially as Mike Williams continues to make that next push, which I believe he will. Rashawn Slater was an absolute hit at the left tackle position, and that brings us to the man that ties it all together, which is Justin Herbert. Now, Justin Herbert has had a very impressive career so far. When you consider the fact that many people thought that Justin Herbert was going to bust coming out of Oregon, and how in his rookie season he threw 31 touchdowns to 10 interceptions, and then in his sophomore season he threw for 5,000 yards, 38 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions, it's only a matter of time before this team puts it all together. And when you take a look at how Justin Herbert has looked this past offseason, I think this is a man that understands that this is his window of opportunity for a Super Bowl. I mean, in my opinion, Justin Herbert has 2 really good years where he's going to have pretty much a super team built around him to make the most out of this opportunity and try to win a Super Bowl before they need to shell out big money to him. Afterwards, it's going to be a little bit more difficult towards the beginning of that contract extension for him to win a Super Bowl, because obviously the team around him is going to get significantly weaker as a result of Justin Herbert getting a huge contract. And it seems like he is taking this very, very seriously, because not only does Justin Herbert look absolutely huge, take a look at this progression from his rookie season to sophomore season all the way to recently. I mean, this is how he looked in the very beginning. You can see kind of not necessarily lanky, but not necessarily the swollest. Then he's slowly bulking up in 2021 in this picture right over here, until recently he took this picture in 2022. So you can see his arms are getting a little beefier. Shout out to him for the Dr. Squatch shirt as well. That was one of our sponsors a while ago. And the man looks absolutely phenomenal. Now, you might be wondering whether or not this is something that he was actually focusing on over this past offseason, or if this is just a nice angle of him, which happens all the time. We made videos like this in the past, and sometimes when you take a picture of a player at a particular angle, they look a little bit better than other angles. But according to Justin Herbert, this has actually been something that he's been very focused on. He even quoted David Goggins over here saying that Justin Herbert has been getting after it in the weight room, now weighs 245. Man, I love hearing that, getting after it. But take a look at this. According to Mike Florio, Justin Herbert was noticeably muscular at Monday's opening of minicamp, and he says he's been working hard in the weight room and gaining weight. Herbert, who weighed 236 pounds at the scouting combine coming out of college, said he's now up to 245 pounds after working hard with strength and conditioning coach Jonathan Brooks. So let me tell you where this becomes a big deal. If you take a look at Justin Herbert's chest, which is primarily one of the biggest factors in a quarterback's ability of throwing the football, it's primarily the pectoralis major, which is fancy language for chest, the latissimus dorsi, which is fancy language for your top right and top left back muscles, and the subscapularis, which is a muscle that is connected to the shoulder, and the humerus, which is a bone in your arm. Those are the most responsible for a player's ability to launch the football. When you consider the fact that Justin Herbert already had a cannon of an arm, this is absolutely terrifying. Now, there's many benefits to a football player gaining muscle mass, whether it's an ability to shake off tackles or the ability to launch the football. But if you're a Chargers fan, this should just be very exciting for you, because it seems like Justin Herbert understands the situation he's in. It seems like he is very aware that this is his opportunity. These next 2 years before he signs a contract extension are his greatest opportunity to win a Super Bowl. Now, Herbert continues to say that he has been just lifting, we've been getting after it, and he's thankful to Jonathan Brooks, who's been leading the charge. It's also worth mentioning that Mac Jones has also lost some weight as well in preparation for his sophomore season. So lots of exciting stuff in terms of football this coming year. It would have been concerning if you saw Justin Herbert and he turned out to gain a bunch of weight. Just things like this really give you an idea of how much a football player is committed to the game, how much he loves the game, and how locked in he is on the upcoming season. And it seems like the captain of this potential Chargers super team, at least on paper a super team, because there's been a lot of super teams that have been on paper that have not performed like super teams on the football field. We made a documentary on the 2011 Philadelphia Eagles. We'll leave it at the end screen. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below, especially if you're a Chargers fan or a Justin Herbert fan. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.